Welcome into Steelers Now postgame. I am Zachary Smith, joined, of course, by Alan Saunders of Steelers Now, boots on the ground, on site for a football game. It's about what I can call it, Alan. The Browns beat the Steelers 13-6. Final score less than 24 hours ago, with the Ravens beating the Packers. We knew that for the Steelers to clinch their berth and clinch the AFC North, they had to beat the 3-win Cleveland Browns today to do so. They did not do so. 13-6, they lose to the Cleveland Browns in a football game. And I told you before we started recording, and I'm going to try to come up with them. I've had a little bit of time here from the last whistle to come up with some words for what I watched, and I'm still not there. I got no clue what's going on. Maybe I have too many thoughts, and just none of them are clear. But, Alan, we're going to have to wait at least one more week to find out what is going to be the outcome here for the 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not I didn't think they would lose this game, and I think they're a better team than the Browns. I'm not at all surprised that it was close. I mean, I think all of us, when we were talking about this game on Friday, were expecting a close game. The conditions were not great out there. I think you saw that in both passing offenses really struggling. It's not like it was just the Steelers. To me, I feel like the difference in this game is the Steelers get behind very quickly, very early, with what seemed to be like, I don't know, an out-of-the-gates defensive game plan that didn't work very well. They made some adjustments, but then the offense just could never get out of its own way the rest of the game, and some really questionable play call / decision-making moves on some pivotal downs late in this game that I thought really – there's about 3 plays that you can circle in this late part of the first half, early part of the second half, that really tell the story of this game. And those are things the Steelers have been largely pretty good at all year, which is very strange for them to just kind of totally, I don't know. Like Aaron Rodgers wasn't very good in this game. Aaron Rodgers is 42 years old. He's not going to be good every game. We've seen him be up and down throughout the course of the season. I don't think I'm blown away by that. I am a little surprised at how poorly this football team played in critical moments of this game, when that is something they've been good at all year against a very, very bad opponent. Myles Garrett's a great player. Do the Browns have another All-Pro? Probably not.
Denzel Ward's obviously very good as well.
He's been banged up. Yeah. But this is not even a good team, and certainly the Browns did not even play well. That's the other part of it. Is there was when the Steelers lost to the Cardinals in 2023,
yes,
which were a 3-win team, but the Cardinals had a bunch of injuries and they got Kyler Murray back, and it was the first game all year they had played with Murray, and since the emergence of Trey McBride, and they kind of put it all together and they looked good, and you're like, well, that wasn't the team that won 3 games. This was very much the Cleveland Browns team that won 3 games that were practically begging the Steelers to win this game for most of it, and the Steelers were just unable to make the plays needed to do so.
You mentioned, obviously, what they've done well all year, certainly within the last 3-game stretch, to put themselves in a position where this could have locked up the division for them and clinched that playoff berth. I mean, like you, I would say that just situationally, I'm surprised, as poor as they were, even despite not having DK Metcalf in the fold, no Calvin Austin. You mentioned the moments where Aaron just wasn't very good. It seemed like he was passing up. I don't know, predetermining in his head where he's going with the ball. Certainly on that last MVS play seemed that way. I'm not going to blame the refs. I'm not saying this comes down to the refs, but a heck of a lot of contact there on that last play as well. But certainly Kenny Gainwell wide open for that. Think he could have scored on that if that's where he goes with the ball. You mentioned just the weighty moments in this one. And I'm not going to make this about the defense, but I thought the first one came obviously on that Harold Fannin touchdown where Kyle Duggar just not locating the ball. I mean, not a good throw at all by Shador, who tried to throw several picks in this game and threw a couple.
That was one of them.
Certainly another one that would have been intercepted as well. So there was one weighty moment there. Obviously, Nick Herbig could have had a pick, which might have turned into 6 the other way if he does do so. But that's not, I'm not placing blame there on the defense. This was all about the offense and what they were unable to do. Like you said, it's not like Cleveland played well. The Steelers could have played poorly in this game, and I thought still won. They just had absolutely no pulse offensively.
Yeah, and they ran the ball well. It was all just the passing offense was completely non-existent. Now there were some times where they got in like some good down and distance situations, and I felt like they tried to go like back to the run, and then it didn't work. Like I felt like there was a lot of like 6 yards on 1st and 10, and then 1 yard on 2nd and 4, and then they didn't convert on 3rd down, which like gets you to looking like you're running the ball okay, but like is not providing like your 50% success rate, right? Which is like not necessarily great. And so I don't know. I thought like I thought the only way the Steelers could lose this game is if they turned the ball over a bunch. I'm absolutely flabbergasted that they did not found a way to not turn the ball over and give up 10 points and still play poorly enough on offense to win this game. And like Rodgers was sacked twice. They ran the ball. They did most of the things they're supposed to do well, and still found a way to not just lose, but I mean, really had to struggle to make the game close at the end.
Are we on? I said on Friday when we predicted that I wasn't like the one thing going in Cleveland's direction, obviously, other than the weather, was I wasn't ready to call it a house of horrors yet for Pittsburgh post Ben Roethlisberger. 4 straight losses there now, though. Last quarterback that wasn't Ben Roethlisberger to win there was Tommy Maddox. Are we there yet, Alan, with calling Cleveland a house of horrors for Pittsburgh?
I think that's fair. I talked to a bunch of guys in the locker room on Friday about whether they would rather win this by the Ravens winning or win it here, and a lot of them said they would rather win it here because they wanted to beat the Browns. They wanted this game to matter, and they wanted to beat the Browns. They didn't overlook this team. They didn't come into this game with the mindset of
that at least goes against that aspect.
These guys are going to be a cakewalk, and like there were guys that were saying like they didn't care if this game didn't mean anything or not. They wanted to come in here and beat the Browns because they haven't beaten the Browns, and they're guys that have been on the Steelers for 2 or 3 years.
Insane stat that I wanted to just bring up here. The Steelers are winless in their last 5 games versus teams that enter that game 8 games or more below 500, tying the longest such streak in NFL history. So 2020 lost to the 2-10-1 Bengals. 2021 tied with the 0-8 Lions. 2023 they did it back-to-back. That Cardinals game that you mentioned, that was a 2-win Cardinals team, then a 2-win Patriots team, then obviously the 3-12 Browns here today.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Winless in their last 5 for teams that are 8+ games worse in the loss column than they are in the win column. All right. Something that we certainly got to update here. J. Alex LP asking about Darnell Washington. Definitely out next week, right?
Yeah, it's a broken arm. I saw him in a cast and a sling. Maybe the Super Bowl. Otherwise, probably season ending.
Yeah, and regardless of obviously like the volume, I mean, he's been more active as a receiver this year than I think we maybe would have thought coming in, but certainly just like what he adds to the run game as a force multiplier and just like, I mean, irreplaceable. I think you give a lot of credit to them trying to utilize Pat in some ways there, but despite what they can do with like the additional tight end stuff with Spencer Anderson, even if you get Sayamalo back and that this is, I don't think that it could be overstated how massive of a loss this is for this offense, which is struggling for answers after this game.
Yeah, and it comes in a game where you're already playing without DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin, and so you're really down on pass catchers, and so that didn't help. And I want to go back and look at what the splits of the run game was before and after Washington, because I felt like when he went out is when some of those issues with the run game started to crop up. Although he left pretty early, so maybe not. I don't know. And then the other part is, I mean, Mike Tomlin did not say this, but he didn't not say it either. Didn't, yeah, single and double negative. I believe that the reason they checked out of their 4th down play call, called a timeout, and threw a deep ball to Scotty Miller was that they didn't have Darnell Washington for the tush push, and they haven't repped anybody else in his spot on that play, and they don't have anybody that was just, ready to go that they felt comfortable putting in there, to keep the timing, the play. You got to stay, it's very easy to take a penalty, that kind of thing. And I think they took tush push out of their repertoire because they didn't have Darnell available to them. I think that's why they went with. Look, shotgun on 4th down and 1 is 100% of the time a bad idea. It is never ever a good idea. Every time an offensive coordinator has ever done it, they should probably be fired, and then we would have better play calling. But I do think that was a part of the reason why they went. They brought Connor Hayward onto the field, and then there was some hesitation. Then there was a timeout, and then he came off. So I think the sequence of events leads us to reasonably conclude that not having Darnell Washington is why they changed their mind.
And that's another obviously massive part of not having Darnell Washington is how much is that going to be impacted, because that's obviously been a very successful play for them, the Spartan. And even we've talked about them branching off of it. We saw another branch off of that today, obviously successful on the Connor Hayward run. But if Darnell's not going to be into the fold, do they find a way within 1 week to still have some stuff installed within that without Darnell Washington being in the fold? Certainly going to be an interesting development.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think what he does is on that play is so unique that you couldn't teach someone else to do it.
Just in the course of the game.
Not having had anyone else done it makes it awfully hard to just break it out with somebody else in the middle of the game. I think if Pat's not usually in there on that play, right? I think Pat could do it. I think Spencer Anderson could do it. Whatever. Just find one of those guys and have them get 15 reps at it in practice this week, and I feel like you can go back to it. But obviously, they're not. I mean, not many 6'8" guys on the team, so you're probably not going to get another exact Darnell Washington. But I think you'll still be okay at it.
Stephen 116 said this is the kind of game where you take the field goals instead of going for it. Obviously, not gimmies in that respect as well. Another miss for Chris Boswell in this game. You saw the way that the wind was at play here. I understand, the conservative approach, knowing what's on the other side. It wasn't going to take many points to win this game. So I understand where Steven is coming from. But even as I said, not like any field goal that you were attempting was necessarily a gimme in this one either.
No, and the Browns went for it multiple times as well, sort of with the same mindset. The weather was nasty here. There's no question. It was wet and very windy. And the wind here is kind of uneven. As I'm sitting here right now, the flags on the right side of the field are straight out, and the flags on the left side of the field are straight down. Which, how does that? So it's inconsistent wind. Boswell's miss was a bad hold though. Corliss Waitman just dropped the snap, and that's what caused that.
Bad snap and bad hold. A couple times now within the last couple weeks. I'm not saying
that snap was okay, but we had a bad. There was a bad snap. Was it last week or the week before? And so, but. Even still, I think there's a big world of difference between just saying, well, I'll take the field goal and deep ball to Scotty Miller. I think there's
a lot of things in between there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things in between there that give you a lot better chance of picking up your 1 yard. So, I mean, Aaron's obviously the one making the decision about where the ball goes. It's not like Arthur Smith is calling that play, saying, throw it deep to Scotty. He saw what he saw, liked Miller with one-on-one coverage, and Aaron's been doing this for 20 years, so I mean, maybe it's silly to argue with them, but I think they would have been better suited to do something else there.
No limit key. Only one thing left to do. Smitty, DB, and Allen all pick against the Steelers next week. I can tell you right now, I'm going to. I don't care how I feel throughout the course of the week, whether that's direction that I would have gone anyway. You have my selection. I am picking the Baltimore Ravens to beat the Steelers next week. I will do that.
Aaron Rodgers said he was very confident the Steelers are going to go home and get a win next week.
Love it. Love the mindset. Love the mentality. I'm not with them. As a matter of fact, Alan, I was sitting here and I was just how I was saying, I was really struggling to get my thoughts, my ducks in a row here for this post-game show. I'm only half joking. I legitimately thought about walking to the gas station. I live a couple blocks away and buying a pack of cigarettes and just starting to smoke right then and there. Never smoked in my life, but almost happened. I think it is incredibly hard as I scroll through these comments here, and I'm about 10 minutes behind, by the way, right now, because it is after this type of a loss to feel anything besides what I just said about just feeling like next week is a loss already. I know that that's not the case. It's just as a fan, and this is where my point of view as opposed to your point of view comes in here on the post-game show. I don't know how a fan of the Steelers is sitting there right now feeling at all good about next week's game.
This is live. Oh, why is it so little? I want to make it big. There we go. Live look at Smitty here.
There was one that was put up of Ben Affleck wearing now we're not even on the screen. Ben Affleck wearing an Aaron Rodgers jersey, smoking a cigarette outside.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
The meme that was circulating. But seriously, I do think that, your point of view as opposed to my point of view, this is where it comes in handy here, maybe to give me some course of hope for next week, because I am not feeling it. I'm sure a lot of people in the fan base aren't feeling it. I'm trying to scroll through the comments and see if I can find one that are. That just feels like I said on Friday, a loss that this team went into this game having the chance to me to prove that they were different, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I don't think they have to be different to win next week. Aaron talked about how this team has been through a lot of adversity already, and they've battled back and found some of their best football games. They are an experienced group. They should be good at putting things in the past behind them and not letting their last game impact the play of their next game. And so, I think a lot of this game is on Rodgers, honestly. Like, when I look at it, there's an unfair amount of it that's on Rodgers because of the lack of available options at the receiver position, and that the Steelers really needed him to be good in this game because they just didn't have horses to do it on their own. It needed to come from the quarterback, and it really didn't. But I also don't see any reason to think that he can't go have a good game next week. The Steelers' run defense, again, very good today, as it has the last 2 weeks. And really, when it comes to stopping the Ravens, that's the big part of the job. And so, look, if you say that, you think this team is not different because they win this game, and they're not going to be a team that you're going to feel good about going into the playoffs and getting a win, I think that's fair. That doesn't mean they can't beat the Ravens next week. The Ravens.
I was going to say, did that aspect of things change for you? I get it. We've talked about not riding the roller coaster, and it is just one game. So should you feel different big picture about them because of this game? But this is a team that we've said we feel better about the ability to win a playoff game at home. Should that happen, do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I do. I don't think that being inconsistent in the NFL this year is not unique. The Bills almost did very, very nearly had the same game here last week. And the big difference is 17 and 8. It's Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers. Josh Allen was able to rescue a win out of what looked like it was going to be a loss, and today Aaron Rodgers came very close but wasn't able to. And I guarantee every Steeler fan that's feeling very sad right now would say, if they play the Bills, they're going to get creamed. I'm like, the Bills just basically played a carbon copy of this game last week, except they made one more play. And I don't think it changes a lot in the big picture for me, honestly, other than if you were thinking this team was a Super Bowl contender, which I was not. I think you probably needed, especially coming out of the 4 seed, you probably needed that week off to really feel that way. Not getting to rest guys in week 18, having had a week 5 bye, especially with an older team, I think the prospect of winning 2 or 3 in a row now looks pretty daunting to near impossible.
And the next meaningful game that they would have played would have included DK Metcalf. That's now not the case. Will not be in the fold for them next week.
And probably TJ Watt, which I think we're still maybe 50-50 on as to whether he'll play against the Ravens now as well.
I was going to say the national reporting has kind of been he's going to be out there, but obviously that you guys are the ones closer to them on a daily basis. So, I think
I would think that he's at least going to dress and try to play. I just don't know how effective he's going to be able to be, and probably more to the point, how much he's going to be able to play. He could be very snap limited in terms of how much they'd be able to use him.
I don't want to make this about Baltimore because this is a Steelers show, but obviously that is what we have to look forward to. That is the game. That is the only game that's guaranteed to be played on the Steelers schedule. It's the only game that matters. They did not have Lamar Jackson in the fold yesterday. They were literally having a conversation on CBS about should this team start Tyler Huntley, even if Lamar is able to go. That was a serious conversation that was taking place.
I was looking at the numbers, man. You can kind of make the argument. I mean, it's a small sample for Huntley, but
what I was going to ask was not about that, but do we feel like they found the recipe, Lamar or no Lamar, with what they need to do going forward with Derrick Henry? I mean, the fact they weren't doing that prior is kind of ridiculous. But what they did yesterday to Green Bay, do we just kind of expect that to be the exact same thing that they try to do at least against the Steelers?
Yeah. I mean, they've been trying to do that, though, and hadn't had a lot of success at it in some other games.
But like from a coaching standpoint, they've seemed to just themselves take him out of the picture. They even said like they have their rotation. That is why, like he scored a touchdown, put them up 10 points the previous week, then didn't play another snap. And they said that was just part of their running back rotation. It seemed like rotation be damned yesterday.
Yeah, maybe they kind of figured out that's dumb. Also, I think part of the reason that you have a running back rotation is so when you get into must-win games late in the season, you can just play guys because you've had a rotation all year, and at that point you can say, well, okay, here we go. Just give me all the Derrick Henry you've got. So, yeah, I mean, the Steelers will have to stop Derrick Henry to win that game. No two ways around that.
Yeah, not breaking any news, obviously, there. Ken said 11, let down 8. Maybe hard for you to watch. I know the vantage point there not as bad as some other ones that we've definitely seen.
Well, I'm right on that goal line. I had a great view.
But not just on that play, just in general in this one. I mean, 9 targets for MVS. It oddly seemed like they weren't on the same page a lot, which is like for those two guys, that was kind of the whole reason to get him. Not sure again in real time if that was something that you were able to notice as well, and just like in general, them kind of at least at the end funneling the passing game through him.
Yeah, I did not think they were on the same page a lot. I wonder how much of that is just MVS taking on a bigger role and doing more stuff in the offense, and that being his first game at doing a lot of the things that he was doing. It did not look smooth at all. I did not think he played well. He had one really nice catch that was going to the ground in the fourth quarter that was big. But, I mean, I think there's good reason that MVS was available in the middle of the season. Like this, I did not expect a whole heck of a lot more than that out of him, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that everybody seems to be pretty level-headed and rational after this one. Season's over. DK should be cut. TJ traded and staff fired. It's good to know that everybody at least,
are we or are we not burning the city down? That's the real question.
I'll be there. If it's happening, I'm not starting it. Not sure I'm going to participate, but I will be in the vicinity to watch.
You'll light your second cigarette from the ashes.
I'll be as close as I can be without suffering harm. So, yeah, I honestly, I'm still really struggling with this, Alan. I feel better, I think, right now talking to you. This always helps me out a little bit than I will tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be back to exactly where I was post game. That's why we call it Misery Monday.
Yeah. I think probably something that like this team is we knew all along that if there was an absence for DK Metcalf, that the passing offense was going to struggle. That was the whole reason we talked about all off season, all season, like the idea of bringing in extra wide receivers, and they never did really. I mean, you get MVS and Thielen; those guys are clearly not up to that task. They did what they did, and like I think very clearly this team has big flaws that were never going to be fixed, and they knew that, and that's why they are where they are, and why they've been where they've been in terms of like the Super Bowl odds and things like that. Like that, they did a nice job of papering it over for a while, but this kind of performance from this passing offense was always something that was possible if they were playing without DK Metcalf. And I thought they could, and then I do think losing Darnell early in the game really was like a big second shot there that they did not really have an answer for, or at least did not find an answer for until very late.
3 of the top 6, I mean, if you're including Calvin Austin as well, in terms of pass catchers that were missing from this one. Yeah, I mean, certainly, obviously, your passing game is not going to be very good without that group, but it also speaks to, like you're saying, the group that was put together behind DK Metcalf. It's not like Calvin Austin has been a high volume guy anyway. Now, of course, if you have his skill set, maybe it changes things a little bit. He's somebody that has to be accounted for in a different way than some of the guys that were out there. But honestly, I think it speaks to the black mark, if you will, in terms of, I know you can't fill every hole, but this is 2 straight years now that we've talked about a wide receiving group that was just not very well put together. And it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a mystery to anyone that it wasn't good enough. And, that's like you said, you can't fill every hole every offseason. This was far from a complete team. And when you're far from a complete team, you don't go throwing assets at wide receiver 2. It's far from a complete team in many other ways as well. I mean, where would the secondary be right now if James Pierre hadn't come out of nowhere and they weren't able to pluck Asante Samuel off the scrap heap? I mean, that unit could be the worst in the league right now, very, very easily. If they hadn't had
still might be employing Darius Slay out of necessity.
Yeah, if a couple of things hadn't broken very, very well for them, they could be one of the worst. And so, I think this is still a team that is on the big picture trajectory they've been on. I thought the offensive line played well again today. And that was, again, one of the big things that they needed to do this year. But clearly, there's still a lot of work to do about turning this team into any kind of real contender in January.
Ken said we knew in July that this was gap year, but I love the offensive spark when it was clicking. Just wanted more today for the W. So I want to use this as a reference point because he said in July. So if you would have told me in July that the Steelers are going to go into a Week 18 game at home, hosting the Baltimore Ravens, they can still make the playoffs if they win that football game, I take that every single time. At that point in the calendar, however, everything that transpired leading up to then, I think it's going to be a massive failure if they lose this football game and do not make the playoffs. With everything else that transpired, with Joe Burrow's injury, with Lamar missing the amount of time and playing as poorly as he had, the door was wide open for this team to, at the very least, win this division and host a playoff game, if nothing else. And they're on the cusp of that not happening. They're also on the cusp of it happening. So next week is literally going to determine whether I think that this was a massive failure or about what I expected.
Yeah. I
think that's probably way too much weight to put on one game, but I'm doing it.
No, I mean, I don't think it's totally wrong. I mean, next week is essentially a playoff game. I mean,
yeah,
you can talk about it however you want to talk about it, but that's a playoff game. It's 2 playoff teams. It's winner take all. They've got to win it. And so, I mean, really, it is a playoff game. And if they win it, like, if they go and beat Baltimore in a winner-take-all Week 18 game at home, sort of regardless of what else happens the following week, I feel just as good, if not better, about that than, like, beating a Colts team that had somehow snuck in on Wild Card weekend. Right? Like, I mean, I just, like, that to me is – that deserves that weight. That's a huge game.
Wish that would have happened, to be honest, but – that is not who their first round opponent will be, regardless of if they make it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very down right now on this team in a way that I did not. Things change very quick in the NFL, and I sometimes do find myself riding the roller coaster. I'm certainly trying to find my way back up that next hill right now. And honestly, the injuries, the suspension, the DK, like if DK was playing next week, maybe I feel a bit different. If Darnell did not get hurt in the course of this game, maybe I feel different. I just don't love the vibes that are surrounding this, but things do change very quickly in the NFL. We saw that, again, not to make this about another team, with the Detroit Lions heading into that game against the Steelers, still had a shot to make the playoffs 5 days later, out of question for them.
Yeah, by the way, that's a much better football team than the Steelers are. And they're in the same spot. I want to talk about DK for a second because despite the fact that Steelers are obviously not going to cut him, and in fact, it was reported today by Jay Glazer, as those of us who cover the Pittsburgh Steelers tried to tell you, they did not void his contract guarantees.
But it doesn't matter till it comes from the national side.
Yeah, I know. Right? Like every person in Pittsburgh said that. But if they end up losing these two games, and let's just say the game script looks something like if they lose next week and Rodgers throws for 300 yards, well, okay, whatever. But if they lose these two games and next week's game script looks something similar to this week's, that is going to go down as one of the all-time biggest bonehead moves in Steelers history in terms of getting yourself suspended for the last two games of the regular season because you wanted to go after a fan and could possibly end up costing your team a chance to play in the playoffs.
But see, isn't that like that's like so it's insane to me that was in his control, but then things outside of his control then determine whether or not it was, how detrimental it was. Like if this team beats Cleveland today, then he doesn't have to, it doesn't matter because he's not going to play next week and the game next week doesn't matter. And then he can play the next meaningful game that they had, but they could be eliminated without him playing. It just totally changes the trajectory of what that meant. It's just wild to me.
Yeah, it does. And I think it, very similarly to the incident with TJ Watt.
Yeah.
Someone, somehow, somewhere put a hole in TJ Watt's lung that was not supposed to happen. However that happened, whoever's to blame for it, whoever's at fault, seems like every party involved is trying very hard for us to not find out who that is or why.
Yeah, I'm still working on it.
I found the Nixon tapes, but I can't. I was looking for this, and I found that instead. That is going to end up being a hugely consequential part of the story of the end of the season. Is that the Steelers had two chances to secure their division, and they played either without or with a hobbled version at best of two of their star players. Once because of stupidity, and another because of an accident at best, right? I mean, that's the best way you can possibly couch it, right? Like, I mean, that's certainly a way to end your season.
This was a football game, and that is a way to end the season. I see a lot of people talking about drinking. Yeah, so I was joking earlier about smoking a cigarette. I don't smoke. I also do not drink. What in the world does somebody like me do in this situation? I need answers. In the live stream.
Lyft is the right answer.
I do that.
Lyft is the right answer.
Yeah, that could work. All right. Got a home gym here. Maybe that's where I'm going. Yeah, I don't. Alan,
I'm going
I guess
to drive back from Cleveland, which I don't recommend as any. No one should do that.
Yeah. OVO Mike said cry a lot. Yeah. Maybe that is, Alan, I normally start out asking like what your big picture takeaway is, and maybe we ended up talking about it throughout the course of this anyway, but I am curious if it was something that was not been said yet. What is on your mind?
My big picture takeaway is that the Steelers are inconsistent and lacking talent in ways that were fairly obvious at the beginning of the year, but I don't think we should write them off yet because of this, because they have shown the ability to overcome their own self-inflicted, largely, adversity already this year. And that this large experiment, by bringing together a bunch of veteran players, different kinds of leaders, is really going to be borne out as a success or a failure based on what happens on the field at Acrisure Stadium next Sunday.
Obviously, we've said next week is a play-up.
Yeah, maybe not Sunday. I spoke too soon. Could definitely be Saturday night also.
Yeah, there's obviously some other consequential games here. We'll find out tonight if San Fran has a shot to play for that division against Seattle next week.
I have 3 texts. Let's see if any are from don't know yet. Sorry.
That'd been cool. I might be with OVO Mike here and hit Taco Bell. That's what he's thinking. But we got some other people that have home gyms. All right, sweet. That's where we're going. All right. You said something there I thought I was going to follow up on, and then we started talking about next week.
I was talking about the leaders, maybe the older guys coming in and this whole putting this team together. Like this, to me, this is what you built this team for. Basically, they're not good. You kind of knew they weren't good. You think maybe they'd be able to overcome something like this. This is sort of the perfect stress test of the entire idea.
And see, not that I disagree. I'm not saying you're wrong there. I feel like the same could have been said about, like, let's just not even get to week 8. This is why it was built for this game. Like, you go and get Aaron Rodgers to put together one touchdown drive in this football game, and you win it. And they didn't do it.
Kick 2 field goals.
Yeah. I didn't have very many words coming in. I certainly don't have any more now. Anything else that we didn't say? If you got any last minute questions, throw them in the chat as well. Better not be on Saturday. I'm driving to a road trip.
This loss means that Mike Tomlin will not pass Chuck Noll in the team's all-time wins lead this season. He can at best tie him next week.
Well, I'm sure people in the comments will love that.
There you go.
Stevie Wonder could have officiated a better game. What'd you make of the officiating? Besides, we talked about that last second, or the last play, defensive pass interference that wasn't called, but
I honestly thought it was better than last week. It wasn't good.
I thought it was better than I expected. When I saw the crew that it was, I did not. I was expecting to be complaining about officiating more than I typically do.
I mean, I think the last play probably was defensive pass interference. I also think it would have been a bit of a bailout because I don't think that ball had much of a chance anyway. But
I'm glad that Philip brought this up, by the way.
Can
we confirm that Mike T didn't care about the sack record more than the division? Enraging narrative out. It is insane how many people are talking about this, to be honest with you. Like, people that have, like, a lot of followers.
This is the dumbest thing ever. Like, every game that every team has ever played with a Myles Garrett or a TJ Watt or whatever, they have spent doing everything they possibly can do to minimize the impact of that player. There is no other level you can take that to, short of installing the triple option and refusing to pass because he is short of a record. Like, it's just like they didn't do anything they didn't do the last time they played the Browns. There's nothing else they could have. Like, it's an absurd thing.
Yeah,
now, is it in like
the best way to minimize?
Maybe a little bit. Like, is he trying to get rid of the ball extra quick? You talked about, like, feeling like he predetermined a couple throws. Is that maybe something that's, like, impacting him in the back of his mind? I don't know. That's hard to say. But to, like, put that on the coaching staff in that way, like, the Steelers should have been calling plays differently or doing things differently than they were because they were overemphasizing stopping Myles Garrett. It is impossible to play the Cleveland Browns and overemphasize stopping Myles Garrett. Period. It is not possible to do that. In fact, if the Steelers had called every down of this game a run away from Myles Garrett, I bet the outcome would have been better because that's how bad Aaron Rodgers played. If every play of the game was hand the ball off to the direction of the field that 95 is not lined up on, I would feel better about that.
I do find it would be an interesting plan of attack, though, if your plan was to minimize Myles Garrett and not allow him to break the sack record. To throw the ball 39 times, if that was the emphasis,
and to run 6 yards per carry, but still not run the ball very much.
Yeah, it was definitely their point of emphasis all week was to not allow.
Yeah, they were doing everything they could to not let Myles Garrett impact the play by 39 dropbacks compared to 24 carries, one of which was a scramble. So 40 dropbacks compared to 23 carries when they were running the ball at 5.5 yards a carry.
Yeah. Yep. That's one way to go about it.
That's just that.
Somebody mentioned Tony Romo was, like, kind of egging on that throughout the course of this game. So that's probably why so many people, like, when you got somebody that's calling the game kind of throwing that out into the universe, I think a lot of people are going to run with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's just like I said, is it something that was, like, subconsciously affecting Rodgers and his decision making? Really hard to say. He says it wasn't. How would he even be aware enough to know if it was like that? That's asking an awful lot of a guy, right? I don't know, maybe, but, like, in terms of a schematic thing from the coaching staff, then just no.
We do have a Ravens fan here, John Wynn Maryland, who actually was offering a glimmer of hope to the Steelers, said the Ravens defense has been bad. Certainly not all hope lost for the Steelers next week.
There you go.
So there you go. Just a point of view from the other side here. I don't think that the Ravens feel super great either. All right, Alan, any closing thoughts here?
No, I don't think so. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Did something just happen there behind you? It's like the light flicker or something. It's like the light flick. Very, very telling. I feel like that's kind of the that's a great way to just kind of sum up what we just watched, is the lights flickering behind Alan as we close out here. All right, well, good stuff. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell on the way out if you have not already. We also post this on all the audio platforms, so leave us a 5-star review and subscribe over there if you have not yet. Oh, I love it. Ken just said the lights flickering for the last call. Yeah, still not drinking, Ken. Sorry.
Maybe it's like a Stranger Things kind of thing. You know, I don't want to get any spoilers out there, but maybe that's what it was.
Yeah,
Cleveland could be in the upside down.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm assuming most people watching or listening know the answer to this, Alan, but tell the people they can find you.
Hey, Saunders _PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now site account, SteelersNow.com. Go there and read my column. Brendan Howe, Chris Ward, Aaron Becker, all got news stories working from Postgame as well. And as usual, all the good stuff over there.
John said, enjoyed this. Have a good week. You too, John. And by the way, just opposite point of view here. We'll be discussing this, obviously, throughout the course of the week. Friday, we do the pregame show and predictions. And then, of course, Saturday or Sunday, don't know which one, but you'll get to either bask in misery or bask in glory during the postgame as well. So we'll be here, and we appreciate you tuning in.
I like it. I wish we had more visiting fans. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it typically. I'm surprised that there weren't more. To be honest with you, Browns and Ravens. They're typically after.
I did see a lot of Browns fans that were like mad that they won this game, which I think is kind of a funny viewpoint. And that not only did they win this game, like Garrett didn't get the record and Shador was basically awful. So like none of the things that could have made them feel good about it happened, right? Like it was just like a very hollow victory. I saw a lot of Browns fans saying that, which is definitely an interesting way to think about it.
My friend Dennis is so upset about everything that just happened. We've been texting and he is not happy about them winning, which is just they've been looking forward to the draft for a long time, and this changed, especially knowing that the Raiders and Giants were playing each other this week. So like one of them had to drop down. So if the Browns lose, they leapfrog. It didn't happen. So again, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell on your way out. 5-star review and subscribe if you live somewhere else. Find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH. Will be back this week for all the normal content on the channel, so stay tuned. This has been the Steelers Now postgame. We appreciate you joining.